So Baruch Hashem, our family was blessed to discover mold in our house. Baruch Hashem, and I say it was a blessing, even though it seems like it's not like such an opportune time to find mold in your house and have to figure out where to move. And it's makes all the Pesach plans are we staying here? Are we going? Where are we going? Where can we stay? But I think it's actually a great blessing because it forces you to ask some questions about where you live and why you live where you live. And there are other places we could have gone for Passover. Hopefully, God willing, be here. We haven't yet confirmed how we're going to be here. But it made me realize, I have a mission to be here, and our family has a mission to be here, and therefore we need to be here for Passover, whether we're in our comfortable home where we plan to be, or we're Hashem in a greater plan. And it's really connected to the title of this week's Torah portion. It's actually not just the title of this week's Torah portion, but the title of a whole book of Torah. And the truth is, not just the title of a book of Torah, it's the title of the whole Torah. Because this week we begin the third book of the Torah. In the beginning of creation, God uses the word light 5 times. And the Talmud says the 5 usages of the word light correspond to the 5 books of the Torah. The third book of the Torah corresponds to the words, God saw the light was good. So the third book of the Torah is considered the good book. It's considered the central book of the Torah, the most important book of the Torah. As it says, and he slew the lion in the pit when it was snowing. Slaying the lion in the pit when it was snowing refers to Shimshon's mastery of the book of Vayikra. He slew the lion means he knew the lion of the 5 books of the Torah, the hardest book of the Torah. So it's the hardest book, the most important book. And yet, when we look at this book, we don't necessarily feel like this is an interesting book, right? I mean, the first book of the Torah, it's very interesting. The second book of the Torah is also a story. The third book of the Torah is a book of sacrifices. Doesn't seem to be that interesting, but what the title of this book is really a title for the whole Torah. It's really, as I mentioned, it's the third book of the Torah. That's why it's called in the pit, in the middle of the pit. It's the middle of the Torah. It's considered the good book of the Torah, the central book of the Torah, and therefore the Rebbe calls the title of this book really the title of the whole Torah. And what's the title of the whole Torah? If you were to try to figure out another name for Torah, what would you use? What would be another name you'd figure out? I'll call Torah something else.
Rabbi 11.
It's so sweet, Baruch. You'll never miss a chance, opportunity to flatter me. Thank you. Go ahead.
I don't flatter.
So another title for Torah, Baruch, is Mikra or Vayikra, a calling. God is like a father who calls a child, and we're the child. And when a father calls a child, what part of the father calls the child? This famous story of the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe was playing with his grandson, and the game was, where is grandfather? So he schleps the Alter Rebbe's beard and he says, here's grandfather. The Alter Rebbe says, no, that's grandfather's beard. So he schleps the Alter Rebbe's ear. That's grandfather's ear. Where is grandfather? So then the Tzemach Tzedek left and the Alter Rebbe went to his studies, and the Tzemach Tzedek, who was not visible, was around a bookshelf or something, he cries out, Zeydeh! And the Alter Rebbe says, yeah! He says, that's grandfather. That's grandfather. In other words, when your grandson calls you, right, it touches you. And so too, when your grandfather calls you, it touches you. And so Hashem, the title of the Torah portion is, and he called. Doesn't even say who's calling. Because as Chassidus says that the names of Hashem correspond to various ways Hashem connects with the world. Ways Hashem performs something. His kindness, his benevolence, his judgment. Then there is a name. Then there is something beyond names, Hashem's very essence. So the title of this Torah portion is God's calling, and therefore it doesn't say his name, because if it said a name, it would mean just one element, not his essence. And who is he calling? He's calling each of us. That's what the whole Torah is. The whole Torah is God is calling. It's not just written Torah. The whole oral Torah is based on the written Torah. So the whole Torah, everything is God is calling. And where is God calling? God is calling to your very core, like a father calling the child. And what is he saying? What is the call? The call of God is, I want you to give yourself over to me. I want you to be close to me. I want you to be a sacrifice. I want to tell you an incredible story. which I should really charge you to tell you the story, because the story is worth its weight in gold. But I'm telling you for free, like it was told to me yesterday. It wasn't actually for free. I was on the way somewhere, and someone stopped me and said, I have to tell you a story. And the way he said, I knew this was going to be a story worth listening to. I heard this story from my uncle last night. He went with a group of guys to Israel, and they were in some village, town, city in Yehuda Shomron, and there was the governor was going to have an audience with the with this group of American businessmen that had come to visit, to tell them about whatever it was about Israel. And before the governor's talk, this woman, who apparently worked in the office, she was going to present something else as a preparation, as an introduction to the governor's talk. In the audience, there is one guy in the audience, like the wide-eyed guy in the audience, the wide-eyed guy. You always thought he was the most exciting guy by the way they open their eyes wider. So the wide-eyed guy in the audience is also in the audience, and the woman asks this wide-eyed guy, let's call him Akiva, Akiva, would you like to share something? And Akiva's like, no, I don't need to talk right now. I don't need to talk. All right. The governor comes out, the governor talks, and the governor finishes, Akiva says, I don't want to talk, but aren't you guys Chabadnikim? Aren't you guys from Chabad? They're like, yeah. They're like, yeah. So I want to tell you guys a story. This is the story. He says, I grew up in Israel, and I always felt that I wanted to protect the Jewish people. I wanted to give whatever I could to protect the Jewish people. Shalom Aleichem Yair. There are different ways to protect the Jewish people. We're studying Torah as Ari has been doing by learning Torah in Eretz Yisrael, and all of us through mitzvahs, in fact, helps all the Jewish people. But Akiva, he felt this is where he was. This is his soul. This is his journey. He felt he has to protect the Jewish people physically with his hands and feet, with actually serving in the army, and he joined the army. And he was very successful in the army. There's a very elite unit. Some say it's the most elite unit. Some say Sayeret. It's called Duvdavim, right? Duvdavanim? Duvdavan, thank you. Duvdavan. Duvdavan is a top unit. And in Duvdavan itself, there are different units. And he was the top of the Duvdavan unit. He was the commander. Akiva was the commander of the top Duvdavan unit. Among the missions of the top unit of Duvdavan is to go in what's called Mistarvim, where they go into enemy territory. They pretend that they're Arabs. They try to find out information and do various missions in Arab territory, in enemy territory. So he is the commander of this group.
These are the guys that disperse the pagers?
That kind of thing. I don't know. But that kind of thing. So this guy, Shaul knows the guy firsthand. It was his cousin, Chaim. Either way, Israel had some intelligence about where some of the hostages were, and so they gave clearance to Akiva, another guy, to go to Gaza, try to find out more information so they could find out exactly where the hostages are, where some of the hostages are. And they get into this house, and in the house they're trying to find information, and they hear actually some terrorists talking, and one terrorist says to the other, the package needs to move tonight or something. The package was a code, of course, for the hostages, and they knew exactly where this package was. They knew exactly where it was, but the problem was, even if you know exactly where something is beneath the ground, it's such a web of tunnels. There isn't just one entrance to one tunnel. There's a whole web of entrances, and to figure out the best way to enter, especially when there's all these terrorists there, is it's almost impossible. But after surveillance for quite some time, they actually had a plan of how to get in and how to rescue these hostages. So it was 12 members of their unit come to rescue these hostages. And the plan was that 3 or 4 of them will stay on top of the ground, and they'll do surveillance. And the other guys will go in and rescue the hostages. They had to go down a 60-foot shaft. So the first 3 guys go down to the 60-foot shaft. They jump down, and whatever way they go down the shaft, I don't know. And unfortunately, the first guy that goes down gets killed immediately. The second and third guy make it down, But the bigger problem was that on top of the ground, two of the guys who were doing surveillance were wounded, which was a bigger problem because that means that their cover was blown, and that means that anything could happen. So they had to immediately retreat, and they had to immediately go back to Israel. So they managed to rescue the two guys that were wounded and the body of the one that was killed, and they went back to Israel.
But I thought there was one guy already on his way down.
The first guy down was shot and killed immediately.
Right, but I thought you said there was another guy going down.
And they all went back up. He took the guy who was killed and went back up. And the two guys who were wounded on top were also taken back to Israel. So Akiva, he was completely crushed because of this. Because, I mean, the widest our American minds can imagine the kind of pressure and the drama of such a moment is like bottom of the ninth, down by 3, bases loaded, full count, right? That's as far as our Western ears could appreciate the kind of drama. But this guy, he thought he lived his whole life for that moment. And he failed. He failed. And that's what he felt. And because of this, he went into a very deep depression. Deep depression that basically paralyzed him for days, for weeks, for months. Until a few months ago, you may have seen this. We posted it on our chat. Probably since when all the chats. This guy Omer Shem Tov comes out of captivity, and he says that what kept him going in captivity was the following story. What happened? He said that when he was in captivity, the Hamas terrorists once showed him a Dvar Malchus. And they asked him, do you know what this is? For those not familiar, Dvar Malchus is this weekly Chabad publication that has teachings from the Rabbi in it, and the teachings of the weekly Torah portion. We sell them. We don't sell them in the show. Some people think we sell them, and they pay some money, and they take them out, but that's just an aside. The Chayenu is, whatever. Anyways, so the Hamas guy, he picks us up and says, tell me what this is right now. I need to know what this is. He says, it's a Torah portion of the week, and it's from the Rabbi, and he starts telling him about the Rebbe. I mean, this guy is not really religious so much, but he tells him whatever he knows. And the Hamas terrorists are like, all right, whatever. So he's like, can I have it? He says, no, you can't have it. He says, I'll do anything. I'll cook, I'll clean, I'll just please let me have it. And for some reason known to God, the terrorist says, okay, take it. What does he care, really? He says, take it. He takes it, and it was a Torah portion of the Dvar Malchus was about Yosef going down to Egypt. And how Yosef is thrown into a pit. And how Yosef comes out of the pit and becomes the king of the whole of Egypt. And it made this guy, Omer Shem Tov, realize that although he's been taken down, he's going to come out. And he's going to be saved. And it's going to turn out that Yudit Tzerech Aliyah, that the descendant is the purpose of an asking. And that booklet kept him alive. So the parents of Omer Shem Tov, they went on social media, in a cute little video you may have seen, and they said, we have this booklet. It has someone's name on it. Does anyone know the name of this guy? We want to return it to this guy. That's what the parents announced. I saw the video. You saw this video? No. The parents like, yeah, Dvar Malchut, we have it. Whoever it is, whichever soldier you are, we want to return it to you. So Akiva sees this video of the parents and of Omer Shem Tov. And Akiva says, I know that guy. That was the guy who was with me in Gaza, in that house, doing surveillance with me to try to find out how to rescue the hostages. I know that guy very well. And he must have left that booklet in the house. So when we escaped from Gaza, they went to that house and they took whatever we had there, and they probably thought this was like some kind of top secret code, right? Which it is a top secret weapon. That's Chitas and Rambam, is protection of the Jewish people. That's a reality. That's reality. Anyway, so what?
It was a hyena.
It's a Hebrew version of Chayenu. So what did Akiva say? Akiva said, Akiva didn't just say. Akiva woke up, he was rejuvenated. He became completely alive after the story. Why? He realized that he wasn't on a mission to save the hostage in the tunnel. It wasn't a failed mission. I was on a mission to give life to this guy, Omer Shem Tov. That's why I went to Gaza. I went there to give him a book from the Rebbe. That's why I was in Gaza. I didn't fail the mission. The mission was that I should give this guy life, and that's how he survived. Omer Shem Tov said, I only survived because of this book. This book, I look at this book every day, and it gave me life and allowed me to be alive till today. So, we're coming now to the holiday of our freedom. And when we left Egypt, not everybody left. 1 out of 5 made it. Most guys didn't make it. Why did most guys make it? So the reason most guys didn't make it was because they didn't want to leave, didn't believe they could leave, because they were so used to Egypt. They thought it's like Stockholm syndrome, where the captive feels like his captor is really his defendant. So the Jewish people, in a similar way, they felt that the slave mentality. They felt like we can't go out of Egypt. Egypt was torture. We can't leave Egypt. This is a safe place. It sounds like such a ridiculous thing, but I promise you, I could relate this at all. I relate this very much. I'm sure everyone could relate this. Think about this. Aren't there things in yourself that you know you're supposed to break out of, things you're supposed to grow from, things that aren't, the way that they're meant to be? No, nobody else does? Okay, fine, I'm the only one? Fine. So isn't there something you remember once upon a time that you wanted to grow out of and change in your life, inside of yourself? No? Anybody?
Of course.
Nobody. Okay, fine. Fine. So what's stopping you from going out of it? Not everybody makes it out of those things. Not everyone grows out of those things. What's stopping us? We're like our grandparents. We're just like our grandparents. They were stuck in Egypt. They didn't want to. They wanted to leave. Why would anyone want to stay? But they didn't believe it's possible. They didn't believe they really could. Why didn't they believe they could? Because they didn't hear Hashem calling them. They didn't believe in the mission of Hashem, that Hashem is talking to them, and Hashem is telling them through Moshe Rabbeinu it's time to go. And this is really what Pesach is. Pesach is not just a commemoration of the emancipation of the Jewish people. Pesach is our day of freedom, when Hashem frees us from where we are and brings us to where we're meant to be. What does that really mean? In Hebrew, the word for freedom is chafshi. Chafshi means free to choose. Free to choose. That you don't have not change, you could choose. But it's just because you can choose, does that mean you're really free? So in Hebrew, the word to choose and to be free to choose are the same roots. Lachapes means to search. Why are you searching? You're searching because there's something empty inside and you want to fill it. You have something inside you, some kind of hole, and you want to satisfy that hole. And what do? You search. So you're free to choose whatever you want to choose to fill up that hole inside of you that makes you search. But just because you can search, does that mean that you're really free? In other words, sometimes the search itself could change you. Let me tell you what I mean. A friend of mine is a Rabbi's emissary in Chicago, right? Mendel Savatitsky. He had this gentleman, part of his community, who had this pharmaceutical company. And this larger pharma company says, we want to buy your company. So what's he going to do? Imagine someone offers you like $10 billion for your 10-cent watch. It's like you can't at a point you can't say no, right? It's just not possible. So he offered such an amount of money he couldn't say no. He had to sell. But after he sold the company, he became very depressed because he had all the money in the world to do whatever he wanted to do with it. He had no reason to live. He felt very empty. His wife divorced him. It was really, really confusing. And he came to my friend and he asked him, what do I do now? What do I do? I'm so empty. So my friend didn't know what to do, and he called his father, Rabbi Sautitsky from Belgium, and his father told him something very fascinating. He said, you have a story here. You have a story, you have everything you could possibly want in the world, you have all the money in the world, and yet it's all worthless to you because you don't feel a mission. That's a story worth sharing. You should go around to schools, to colleges, to businesses, and talk to them about what the meaning is of life and how you can have a lot of things that don't actually satisfy you. Think about it very practically. You're studying for the bar. You make the bar. You want to buy a house. You buy the house. You want to make a business. You make the business. You're successful. It works. You get it. And you feel happy. You got it. You go on a vacation. You went on a vacation. You saw the Leaning Tower of Pisa, which, by the way, don't do that. It's such it's all it is a Leaning Tower in 500 Photoshops. That's what it is. It's a little bit like that. Anyways, but it's entertaining. And then after it's entertaining, you feel empty. Why are you empty? But why are you searching in the first place? Why are you searching for entertainment? Why are you searching for the best food and drink and whatever? It's because there's something in you that's missing something. That voice in you that's missing something is valuable. Most of the time, the reason we feel we're missing something is because our neshama, our soul, is missing meaning in life. That's God talking to us, saying you're here for a reason. It's not like first we're here and let's figure out how we could do something that's meaningful. It's first there's a meaning to our lives, and that's why we were created. That's why God put us here at this particular juncture in history, in the particular circumstances that you're in, the time that you're in, with the tools that you have, and the resources that you have, and the people that you know. That's exactly where God found your place to be to fulfill the mission that you're in. So until you listen to that voice of Hashem, you're going to feel pretty empty, because that's what your soul is. Your soul is about a connection to Hashem. The Hebrew word for freedom, real freedom, is cherut. Not just free to choose. Cherut comes from the word engraved, charut. Engraved in us, an immutable part of us, is our connection to Hashem, is our mission of Hashem. So we could live our lives and ignore that and try to satisfy it by eating and drinking and getting a job and meeting someone, all kinds of things. But until we actually stop and listen to that boredom inside us, say, why am I bored? Why am I empty? That's a valuable thing. Don't substitute that with scrolling on your phone. Stop and say, there's something I'm supposed to be doing here. I have a mission. Until you pay attention to that, it's going to bother you. This guy came to the Rebbe once, this young man, he comes to the Rebbe and he tells the Rebbe, I'm a screw up. I screwed up this, I screwed up that. I'm totally empty. My life is worthless. I don't accomplish anything. And the Rebbe said, if you were as you describe, it wouldn't bother you. Why does it bother you that your life is so empty? Why is it bothers you? Because you have a reason to be here, because you have a higher calling, and that's where you're not satisfied in your shoes, because you know you're meant to do something else. This also explains. You ever have a question like this guy over here has to catch his flight, and he's thinking, I should go now. And he's like, should I really go right now? I can go in 5 minutes. You ever have conversations with yourself like that? He actually has to catch a flight. Maybe you should go. But that's up to you. I'm for holding you. It's 8:30. But why do you have conversations with ourselves? Who are those two people talking? Should I go right now or should I sleep? Should I get up or should I go? Should I go to daven? Should I go clean? Who are those guys talking? Who is it the conversation with? We have a godly soul. We have an animal soul. Just look at yourself. You'll see there's a conversation going on inside you all the time. And until we hear God talking to us, and we're not going to really feel free. Freedom to choose and to search is not freedom. The real freedom is to stop and to listen to Hashem's talking to us, because believe it or not, that's our deepest voice. And that's why, what does Hashem ask us to do in this Torah portion? He has to bring a sacrifice. What's the first sacrifice He asks us to bring? The first sacrifice He asks us to bring is an olah. An olah means the whole thing is burnt. The whole thing. Hashem says, I want you to give everything. The Rebbe explains, Hashem is telling us is, the main components of the sacrifice are fat and blood. Fat and blood means your enjoyment, your excitement, your pleasure. Give your pleasure and a passion to Hashem. So you might say, well, I have a lot of things I want to do with my passion and pleasure, a lot of things I'm interested in, a lot of things that spark my curiosity. But Hashem is telling us, invest in what really is meaningful. Stop and think why you're here, and that actually will give you the real. That's what this Pesach is for. Pesach is about stopping and jumping out of what we're used to and listening to the voice of Hashem. And the Pesach actually means to talk, to communicate, not just in ourselves to realize what it's meant to be, but also to communicate to our friends, to our families, to share this message of the neshama, of the soul of who we are and what we're about. This little boy comes to his dad. I'll leave you this story, let you guys go. This little boy comes to his dad, and his dad says to him, I want you to go and sell this watch. But don't sell to the first offer. Find out what the guy's offering, and then come back. So he goes down the street to this guy fixing watches. It's a nice watch. I'll give you $150 for it. $150. All right. Goes back to his dad, $150. Like, no. Go to a watch store. Go to Feldmar. Goes to Feldmar, goes to the store, and the guy looks at this is a nice watch. This watch is worth $10,000. So his father's like, don't sell it. And then he says, go down to Hill Street, go to an antique dealer and see how much they'll offer. The antique dealer looks at it and says, this watch, I'll give you 100. He says, no, I have to ask my dad. I can't sell it to you right now. Okay, I'll give you 150. He says, no, I need to speak to my dad. I'll give you 200,000. Just do it now. I need to ask my dad. I'm not allowed to sell it until my dad okays it. So he's like, Dad, what is it worth? Is it worth $150, $10,000, or $200,000? What's going on? And so the father told the child, the value of the watch is a lot more than the $200,000. Only a few watches like this in the world. But someone who doesn't know so much about it, $100, a little more, $10,000. But don't sell it short. Same way as in yourself. What are you worth, Shalom Melech? What are you worth? What are you worth? What's your value? Everything in the world has a purpose. Everything in the world has a meaning. Human being doesn't have a meaning. The choicest of God's creation doesn't have meaning. So we could sell ourselves to all the advertisements around us. This is what you're about. You buy this, Geico. You know, we could look at all those things and say, yeah, that's what I'm about. Or we could stop and we say, there's a shlichus, there's a mission. We're here. It's the end of the exile. Mashiach's about to come. It's Pesach. And what's the mission? Do I know someone who needs a matzah? Do I know someone who hasn't sold their chametz? Is there something that I uniquely could do that could help someone? Give more schita. L'chaim, l'chaim. Should realize who we are and what we are, and we should feel the emissive freedom of the coming Mashiach b'karav mamish. L'chaim, l'chaim, v'rav. This machta